Hello and welcome to Profiles in Risk. This is your host Tony Caña switching to my radio voice. And today I have with me Dave Connors, founder and CEO at DistriBind. Dave, thank you for joining me today. How's it going?
Hey Tony, yeah, thank you for having me on. It's going really well, thank you. How about yourself?
Awesome, awesome. Fantastic, absolutely fantastic. So, as we were chatting just before we started recording, I am in Buenos Aires, Argentina, and I am madly in love with this area of the world. Before I had visited for like a week and a half at a time, but never for long. I've been here for about a month and a half.
Lovely.
I might never go back. I'll go back for conferences and stuff, but I'm really enjoying living down here, basically.
Yeah, I've
Um,
never been to
and
South America.
oh, it's beautiful. Buenos Aires especially. It's like living in Paris, or even London would be. I think you're in London.
Yeah.
It's like living in London, but with better weather and the cost of living of like Haiti.
Oh
Like
wow.
it's stupidly cheap.
Yeah.
And in my world, where most of my work is U.S. hours, it's Eastern time -1, so it's very similar to U.S. hours. So yeah, the only disadvantage is a 9-hour flight back home for anything that I need to do in the States.
Sure.
So basically, my plan is to go back a couple times a year for different conferences, maybe for Christmas. So according to LinkedIn, you're in London, right?
I am indeed.
So London in July, and kind of the entire world is in the middle of a heat wave. So I'm assuming that right now London is like 80 degrees.
We've skirted the heat wave. I'd have to convert that into centigrade. Yeah, we're low
Oh,
low
okay. So
low
so
twenties, so
30,
so around.
low 20s. Okay.
Yeah.
So even while the kind of like the entire Western Hemisphere is in a giant heat wave, London is still kind of cold.
Yeah. Well,
Actually, it's kind of nice.
this will be lost on your US audience, but it's a very sore point for English sports fans here that we've just had a big cricket match where the last 2 days were rained off, and England needed to win. So that would tell you what the British summer is doing right now.
Oh, okay. And who was England playing?
Australia, so
Supposed to
they're
play.
they're our biggest rivals in cricket.
Ah,
And actually,
okay.
there's just a big cricket league that's just about to, or just kicked off in the US. Major League Cricket is having its first year this year. It's just started.
Hold on. There is such a thing as Major League Cricket,
It's
MLC.
Yeah, it's the first year this year. It's just started.
Okay, so so the best part about that is the fact that MLS will no longer be the forgotten major sport.
Yeah, probably. Well, they have Messi now, so
Okay,
it's not
okay.
forgotten. MLS is
So
big.
for the Americans, which is most of my audience, cricket is a weird baseball-like game that is played in the UK and in other former UK colonies,
Yeah,
except for the US.
except for the US. So actually,
Uh,
interestingly, it was more popular in the US. I'm a cricket nerd. I know you're just saying this is attached to insurance nerds. I'm a cricket nerd, and it was more popular in the US until like the late 18th century, early 19th century, when baseball became like more, it was more of a patriotic thing to play
ah.
baseball rather than cricket, and cricket dropped in popularity.
Okay, that is very interesting. I had no idea. Okay, perfect, perfect. I'm a soccer guy.
Yeah.
So the, um, we always give, or not soccer. I should have said the real football, the kind that you play with your foot.
Yeah.
Right, not the egg ball that I just lost 80% of my American audience for saying that. Okay, so we always give the guest the chance of giving the elevator pitch. What is DistriBind?
So DistriBind is curing the insurance industry of its spreadsheet addiction. We are a data exchange platform that focuses particularly on delegated authority. So when you have distribution through MGAs and agents, and they have to get the data to tell the insurers what policies they've sold, what premiums they paid, what claims are there, and we provide a lot of automation in that process, a lot of kind of data cleansing, validation, and more importantly, a lot of visibility to all parties, or so they have much more certainty about what's on risk, what premium is there, what claims are there, and eliminate a lot of kind of manual spreadsheet processing.
Fantastic. Okay, So I have never worked the Lloyd's market, and I have never worked in an MGA here in
Yeah.
the States. But I have worked with a lot of MGAs, especially as a recruiter. I'm getting to know the MGA model, especially because there's so many insurtech MGAs that I've had to deal with a lot of them, and it's a very interesting model. I was on mute, but I laughed out loud, quite literally, when you said curing the insurance industry of its spreadsheet addiction, because
Yeah.
that is endemic. And in fact, you get a spreadsheet if you're lucky.
Yeah.
More often, at least in the US market, you get a PDF,
Yeah.
and then your processing people and your UA waste a lot of time, or some poor souls, the actual underwriter, waste a lot of time entering that all that data into the system. So a spreadsheet if you're lucky. But having said all of that, even if you get a spreadsheet, it is definitely not a seamless process, especially if there's a wholesaler in between, right?
Exactly.
Um,
And
so
that's what
so
we do,
mhm.
is we clean up all of that. So our platform, the ideal, you mentioned the insurtech MGAs, if they've spent a lot of money on their digital distribution and their platform, they don't want to be de-digitizing that data because it's the only way the carrier or the broker can receive it. We have real-time APIs. You mentioned PDFs. We'll process PDFs. We'll process spreadsheets. We process XML. But what's the key for us is we will just take that data as the sender can send it, and then our platform ingests, enriches, cleanses, validates, and transforms to give the receiver what they need. So you mentioned the Lloyd's market. We're not purely a Lloyd's platform. We have Lloyd's clients, non-Lloyd's clients, US clients, European clients. But the Lloyd's market has a particular standard for this data reporting called the V5.2. It's a spreadsheet. And what we do is for a lot of our clients is we take data from their brokers, from their MGAs that isn't in that standard, and we cleanse and transform it and give it to them in that standard. Whereas, before that, they would be manually changing it, or they'd be fighting, butting heads. Why isn't it called this? Why doesn't that format look like that? Why is this field named one thing, or you've used a different code set? And we eliminate all of that.
Okay, okay. By the way, as you were chatting, I was looking at your website, and again, I laughed. So you have a white paper, fantastically titled "Insurance, Not Archaeology,"
Yeah.
which so people go down like you want to read that. Every insurance nerd listening to this wants to read a white paper called "Insurance, Not Archaeology." So that's fantastic. Uh, okay, so completely understand why this is important. So I am very I don't want to spend a lot of time on the listeners on why this is important, because I think every listener, the moment you said spreadsheet addiction, went like, I want that, right?
I
So
hope so.
so so what I'm curious about is, okay, so if I am, an MGA, I go and I sign up with DistriBind. Okay, does the ultimate carrier and maybe the originating broker, if it's a three-party transaction, do all of us need to be on DistriBind for this to really be useful?
No, absolutely not. So currently, across our client base, we do have all parts of the value chain, but not at any point is all of them off one, facility or program. So we have an MGA client
Okay.
that is sending us that data real time. They're writing risk straight into their platform. It's coming into us by our API, and then what we facilitate is the automated sending of that spreadsheet, which is all the insurer can receive. But the insurer doesn't need to be our client. Um, Equally, we have the other end of it where the insurer is our client, and they're giving an MGA or a broker just permissions to log into our portal, and they can upload, or they can just put stuff in a shared file or something, and we can pull the data. So there are some of the benefits of the platform grow exponentially when you have the whole chain, but there's still benefits, significant, massive benefits in data visibility, automation of processing, cleansing, um, just with one party, and actually that enables that party to pass some of those benefits to their business partners, even when they aren't our client. Just in as simple as, you know, if the insurer will definitely be getting what they need, the format they need from their MGA partners if the MGA is our client. If the insurer is our client, the MGA loses the friction of, why are you calling this thing? You have to change your reporting format when they might have 10 different carriers, and that one carrier then just becomes the easiest one they have to send their data to, because they just send them whatever and we give them what they need.
And being the easiest carrier to submit to, being the easiest carrier to do business with in some lines of business is a humongous advantage. So, for example, small commercial. In small commercial, humongous advantage to be the easiest carrier to quote with. Middle market and specialty stuff, right? Being a great underwriter is more important. But small commercial, maybe even personal lines, being easy. So yeah, great advantage there. Uh, what is the integration like? Uh, how do you plug into? How do I plug into your systems, or how do you plug into mine? What's kind of the minimum level that my system needs to be at to be able to really benefit from plugging in with you guys?
So the minimum is actually nothing. Like there it can be completely black box, arm's length. You're loading spreadsheets or PDFs into DistriBind, and everything can sit in DistriBind and not come out of it. Or you can then integrate just the downstream, so we can output. We have APIs to send data out. You can extract data. You can use the Power BI reporting. So there, there is kind of no integration in that sense. Or it can be fully integrated at every end, data coming in automated. We send data to accounting systems, underwriting systems, integrate data from claim systems when we're doing our claims verification, send data to ledgers, receive cash data, cash information. So one of the things that has always been important to me, right from the very first conception and design of the platform, was that it's not for us to enforce any individual workflow. It's not for us to enforce any particular, landscape architecture of the rest of the enterprise. It's for us to be flexible and say, well, how do you want to use us? You can. And it gives us the advantage as well, is then we don't need to go through, some massive 3-year implementation before anybody gets any benefits. You can start using us within a matter of weeks and then integrate deeper over time as you're getting those benefits.
Okay, fantastic. Um, what 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 is the pricing, the revenue model like, and who pays for it? Is it, does the broker pay for it? Does the MGA pay for it? Does the carrier pay for it? What is the pricing like?
So, who pays for it is simply our client. So, as I mentioned, you don't have to have the whole chain. So, whoever we contract with pays. And then, we have a relatively flexible processing commercial model for MGAs, particularly the smaller MGAs, that can be kind of modular. So, what parts of our system are you actually using? Because we do a lot. We have it's a full suite of risk processing, premium processing, claims processing, cash, various reporting, machine learning, forecasting, all these sorts of stuff. But not everyone will necessarily use all of that. So that's a kind of modular price point. For the kind of larger MGAs, brokers, carriers, then it kind of tiers based on a percentage of the premium income that we process through the platform.
Okay, perfect. Is it a long-term commitment? Is it a 1 year commitment, or can we
I mean, so we
test it out somehow?
Yeah, so typically the way we would do it, most of our engagements would come through. We work on a single program or single binding authority, get that live, get that up and running, and that can be off a relatively short-term commitment. And then we would look to say, well, okay, how do we roll this out further and integrate further and look for kind of longer-term commitments? Typically we'd want sort of a minimum year annual license, but we can offer incentives for kind of longer term commitments as well.
Okay. Any great client stories, client success stories? What are the client telling you? And you can use the company name. You can not use it. It's up to you. whatever you're allowed to do and whatever you're comfortable with. But any great client stories of how it has really changed their business?
Yeah, I mean, so I think thankfully, our biggest client is Liberty Specialty Markets, which is the European arm of Liberty Mutual, which most of the American listeners will be familiar with. Um, and a few months back, we were myself and a couple of colleagues were in Italy doing some training because we're rolling out across all the European countries for Liberty Specialty Markets. And whilst we were there, one of their like pan-European managers came, and he's based in the Netherlands, and that was the first country that we rolled out to. And he said the impact there has been the underwriters are doing the audits of the MGAs. It has gone down from a process that could take days or a week down to 2 hours, because all of the information is so visible and so there, and that's not therefore it's not just changed that in the sense of it's much quicker. It's actually therefore something that was difficult to get the underwriters to want to do because they're being taken away from their kind of what they would call productive work for several days down to, what, this is very simple, it's a couple of hours, yes, I'm happy to do it. So that, I mean, that was an amazing story when he told us that.
Amazing.
Really, really, really happy to hear that.
That is fantastic. Um, I'm always curious about the origin story. How did you realize that this was a problem, and that you were the right people to jump in and solve it?
So there's a couple of ways of telling this story. There's, I guess, the slightly flippant one and the more boring one. I mean, the reality is it's come from a lot of my personal experience. I've worked in the insurance industry for 20 years, and my experience is a little unique in the sense that I spent sort of the first 10 years on what might be termed the business side. I was an insurance technician. I worked for insurers. I worked for brokers. I worked for service companies. And then I sort of started moving more towards kind of business analysis. And then moved over to vendors, and I was working kind of functional design innovation roles. But I always worked in either delegated authority or outwards reinsurance. So it was always spreadsheets. It was always reporting. It was all this stuff. Um, and it never left me. And it just thought this isn't something that had been really cracked, and I just felt that there was a different approach that wasn't being taken. And the two real key things for me that made me go, this has to change, and we need to do it, was one. They were both at the same company I was working at. One was we were negotiating. We were at the cover holder was saying, or the MGA was saying, we think we're due a big profit commission here, and but the data was so opaque and just couldn't be reconciled. And so we had to go through months and months of reconciling. This is what they sent. This was what they actually paid. This went through the Lloyd's signing. This didn't. Um, and at one point we were like, yeah, there's like 1.5 million euros of commission here. Um, and then actually we realized there was just some return premium for 1 million euros. Nobody knew what it was. And it turns out 1 million of that profit commission had already been paid. They didn't know. The underwriter didn't know. So, I remember sitting in, two different meetings. One when I said, well, I think it's going to be about 1.5 million euro. The MGAs are jumping up and down excited. The underwriter has her head in her hands. And then, 3 weeks later, we're saying, yeah, but you've already paid 1 million. And it's the other way around. The underwriter's delighted, and the MGAs have got their head in their hands. And it was just, that's an unsustainable model. Uh, there was another one where, I came back, from lunch, it being the London market. I'd been in the pub, and my boss called me over and said, like, somebody's made a complaint about us. We're not handling this claim. And I was like, okay, let me look at it. What's the claim? And I've never ever heard of that name before. I've never seen that file before. And this has been gone quite high up in Lloyd's. That the complaint had been made to Lloyd's that this claim just wasn't being handled. And it turned out that where the third party claims administrator had a team for dealing with small losses and a team for dealing with big losses. The broker had changed. That's how we came to be dealing with it. And the small team had updated their email, and the big team hadn't. So this, there was a 2 million claim for some poor guy that died in a nightclub fire. Obviously, his family were going like, why is nobody answering us? Well, because they were emailing a broker that didn't exist anymore, and it was stuff like that that just led me to this kind of, well, we've got to change this.
Absolutely. And it looks like you've been working on DistriBind for, according to LinkedIn, for about 5 years. So
Um,
so so this is
yeah.
so this is a fairly mature solution.
Yes, I mean it is. It's live. It's in production. With couple of global carriers, some MGAs of different sizes. We're in discussions with various brokers as well. So as ever, we have a roadmap. There's still stuff we're building. There's elements of it that are more fully fleshed out than others, but it's certainly it's a robust, ready, production ready system.
Fantastic. Thank you for addressing a real problem
Thank
in
you.
our industry. The first wave of insurtech, we had a lot of tech hammers looking for an insurance nail. And it's wonderful that now we're seeing a lot more of like insurance people who identify the problem and like build something to fix it. So looking forward to see you guys continue to grow.
Thank you.
When this goes live, I will tag both you and the company on LinkedIn.
Thank you.
For the listeners, I will include the company's website on the show notes. That is distribind.io.
Yeah.
And I include that in the show notes. Any conferences? So I met your team at InsurTech Hartford 2023. InsurTech Hartford 2024 just got announced today.
Yeah.
I just received the dates for April of next year. Any conferences this fall that the listeners might be able to meet your people at that you already
So
know you'll be at?
we're definitely going to be at the New York Venture Summit at the beginning of September. I think the 6th and 7th of
Okay.
September or 5th and 6th of September. And we'll be in New York for the whole
Mm-hmm.
of that week. So if you're in New York and not at that conference, we'd still love to meet. And we'll be at ITC Vegas at the end of October, beginning of November as well. I'm not sure if we'll be at any others yet. We're still looking.
Fantastic. Looking forward to meet you at ITC Vegas. I'll be very easy to recognize
Yeah.
with my top hat and my red jacket. And this year, ITC Vegas is during Halloween week. So God only knows what I'm going to come up with to add to my usual getup.
It's a very sore point with my daughter at the
But
moment. Shit, my daughter's not
definitely
impressed.
looking forward I don't have kids, and when I received the email right after ITC last year that it was during Halloween, I went like, yeah, right. But yeah, lots of people have said the same thing. Are like, my kids are pissed off at me because I can't miss ITC, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
she's not impressed at
so
all.
yes, so hopefully they do learn the lesson, and next year it is not during Halloween. Thank you so much for your time today. This has been
No worries.
wonderful.
Thank you. I really enjoyed it. Thank you very much.